The goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
So
good enough for Robin.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band show.
and listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band.
Like Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all. God Almighty!
But this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like seriously, I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot, up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar.
Tonight, we have the introspective and cinematic music from singer-songwriter Wila Frank.
Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese.
Hello, and I'm your co-host, David Moore.
And you are listening to
Your Next Favorite Band.
And a great one this week. We've got some great, very currently released brand new music.
It's got the tags on it still. It's so new.
That is so true.
I feel like if we wanted to, we could return it, but you would never want to do that because it fits so well.
That was well done by you.
Thank you.
Yes, so artist Wila Frank on this week, but before we get into the interview, this week I didn't, don't worry David, no pop quiz or out of nowhere left field trivia question. This week we're just going to do some promo.
Okay.
One thing that we upkeep that maybe people are aware of, maybe not, is our Spotify channel. So we have some stuff out there. So let me kind of bring it up here on the screen. But basically, so our Spotify channel, which aptly named Your Next Favorite Band, has basically a couple different things that we feature in here. If you see these ones that say, in quotes, 3 to C, and it's 3 songs from each artist we bring on the show, and they're basically broken into the sections of kind of like where we're at, so it's not a super long playlist that you'd have to scroll to the bottom to get to this week's guest. So in those like 4-month windows where we kind of transition, so this is the most current one, and you can see here's some music by Wila Frank. And then in a previous one, so this is last season, so you can see Easy Honey and Rat Boys and Shane Guerette, Social Creatures, and all the guests from last, basically from, you can see here, January through April of this year, and all the prior ones. So basically you can go in and check out 3 songs from everybody we've had on the show, and we try and do it the week prior so that you can get ready for the episode. The other thing I guess I wanted to highlight was we have these Your Next Favorite Song playlists, and we started breaking them out by year. So these are just songs we've discovered this year that we think we're super into. And so that's 2024. And the reason why I'm kind of mentioning this a little bit here is here's 2023. And so this is last year's songs that came out. And down here is the song Tonight by Wila Frank. It was the 33rd entry from last year. So she made our top songs, or I guess, again, your next favorite song, 2023. So that was where we kind of first discovered Wila, and heard new music was coming out, reached out, and here we are. So we're going to do some interviewing, but let's bring on that song, shall we, David?
That sounds like a great idea.
That's what we do here. So this song is incredible, and we're going to definitely get into some of the inspirations, the musicality, and also just the orchestration of it. I think is just pretty great. But let's listen into this incredible track called Tonight by Wila Frank.
Frank was raised on a farm in a rural bohemian community in Oregon, where she formed an early passion for classical and folk music. She learned violin at only 4 years old, followed by piano, mandolin, cello, and guitar. She began writing songs at the age of 12 after losing her father in a tragic accident, and her grief became an essential motif throughout her writing. At 18, Frank moved to Nashville to record and tour with indie folk duo Paper Wings and Grammy-winning Civil Wars alum Joy Williams, along with other artists and projects. While folk music and mastering the violin were essential to forming the foundation of Frank's artistry, her own songwriting led her to a wide range of feelings and moods, making her an excitingly multifaceted artist. Released via Tone Tree Music, her mesmerizing debut album Black Cloud was deemed introspective and cinematic by NPR Music, All Songs Considered, and her EP titled Aqua Verde will be coming out July 19th and exhibits a more delicate sound of Frank's nature through rippling acoustic guitars and lush strings.
All right, we'll bring this back up, and then we'll bring Willa on the show. Welcome to the show, Wila Frank.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, thank you. And we got that right in at the end there. Basically, that's such a terrific song, and it got such great acclaim. That's only a year old, right?
It is.
Yeah. It's so. Cool. It's. I mean, one of the things I wanted to touch on to start with there is, the first time I heard it, and so the guitar playing is so impressive, and it sounded nearly impossible to achieve, to be honest. And so I actually went to your YouTube channel and watched your live version of it, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, she can play that. Like, it was just one of those things where it almost sounded like it was not electronic, but like almost recreated in a way that maybe would be very difficult to do live, but you nail it. And it's almost what finally clicked for me is when I was doing more research for this is you've designed it off of traditional banjo style playing.
Yeah, so the inspiration really behind that guitar part was there's a Massive Attack song called Psych.
Oh, nice.
You know it. And there's a guitar sort of sounding, I don't know if it's a synth or a guitar, but it sounds kind of like that. And I'm sure that it's not like a live thing. I think it is edited together, but I just was convinced that I had to learn that part on guitar. Yeah. And so I had to use, the technique I'm using is similar to like clawhammer banjo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Technique.
It's very, very cool. And obviously it catches your ear like that because it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Massive Attacks.
And think about that inspiration too. Like it made you do something that maybe was not supposed to be humanly possible, and you pulled it off.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge.
Yeah. And some of that is too like banjo style, kind of guitar technique, and then also the lyrics can almost be bluegrass in style as well, and that speaks to kind of your early listening was a very folk Americana style of music, correct?
Yeah, I grew up playing fiddle. I still play fiddle, but
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Appalachian bluegrass, folk, Irish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can help us. I read this everywhere, but I tried looking up even an explanation of it. But it constantly gets referred to as a rural bohemian town in Oregon. So, what is a rural bohemian town feel like to grow up in?
It's a wonderful, wonderful place, and it's hard to describe. So that's why those adjectives are used. Basically, I grew up on a beautiful piece of property in the Oregon Coast Range.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an area where a lot of people moved in the 70s.
Sure.
Sort of back to the land, hippies, artsy folks. And so it was just a really supportive community to grow up in. It wasn't like a commune or something.
No, right.
But just a town so small that there's no store, there's no, technical building, except for some community spaces. So.
That's cool.
Yeah, no post office, no red light, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to borrow the area code. But David, you had a question too about some of that early music with the orchestrations and stuff.
Well, it's like, it's the orchestrations that are on not just this, but what we know is upcoming too. So there's the word cinematic was used that I used in the biography from NPR. There's obviously a very lush string sound that you bring into your recordings, and you're mentioning you played. You said fiddle. We mentioned violin and cello, and I know in the notes that it is, if I have his name right, is it Lucas Henry helps you with the string arrangements. Can you explain how you put that all together in the studio? Because obviously, if you're talking strings and you're playing all those things, that sounds like you're building big string beds, and that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, I was sort of doing that. I did a little bit of that on Black Cloud, but I sort of dove further into that on my upcoming EP.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Luca helped me with some of the tracks, and coming from a classical perspective, we sort of just layered, all the different sort of octaves you might get in an orchestra.
Sure.
So you get this really big, lush sound, and it's so much fun.
And it's just the two of you.
Yeah. Just violin and bass.
And do you play any cello on that, or is it just violin and bass?
No, I don't have a cello at the moment, sadly.
So we could put that out there. Anybody wants to basically fund a cello for Wila, the invitation is out there.
The cello fund. Yeah, I don't really have a use for it, playing out, but it would be nice to have for the studio. But yeah, it's just violin and double bass, playing all the strings.
It sounded like also early attempts at that Black Cloud record was more electronic, but then you kind of pivoted to more traditional music.
Yeah, I had a very specific vision for the beats, and originally had made the beats myself, and then I got my friend Royal to help me with PS Ableton.
Sure.
So yeah, it started out very like DIY garage band, and then it went to Ableton. I still kind of, maybe I'll release them someday, but I still kind of like the OG beats that we made.
That would be fun. Like the old like hidden track, or like the B-side to something that was like an early demo tape version of it.
Yeah. What's amazing is Cyprian, the drummer who plays on Black Cloud, he interpreted all of those, similar to like me playing that synthy guitar thing from
Sure.
Massive Attack. He interpreted every single beat that we made into live drums. And some of it is like, seems like it would be technically impossible, but
Right.
He pulled it off. He's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing what you can do when you just simply don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the infamous, you found out afterwards how it was done. Wait, they did it that way? Oh, I could have done it that way the whole time?
Yeah, I don't have to turn my hand into a pretzel anymore. I can use my thumb this way. Anyway, but the other element to this record that I had heard was that you, this was your kind of quote, hid those songs under your bed and were afraid to share them because they really touched on a lot of difficult emotions or kind of vulnerability of things that you weren't yet ready to reveal. And then I guess something finally unlocks and you're like, it's time to put this out there.
Yeah. I think a lot of that came from the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was on tour pretty, hitting it pretty hard that year with my folk duo, Paper Wings.
Yep.
And, you know, all of a sudden, all our gigs were gone. And
Right,
I'm at
right.
home. And then a friend of mine gave me an electric guitar. And I had sort of these angsty songs, some of them from like my teenage years that
Sure.
I just never did anything with because
Mhm.
I thought it doesn't fit into the folk world. It doesn't
Right.
fit into what I'm doing. And I thought I need to finally do something with these. Otherwise, they'll just be sort of festering in the back of my mind.
Right,
forever.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're so good. Like, it's just incredible to think about that they were just sitting there. Like, you know, that they may not have ever seen the light of day if it wasn't for the pandemic or an electric guitar. That's like just incredible to me when you hear stories like this about, you know, a musician who has all this amazing songs that are just kind of tucked away, waiting for the right time.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary because, you know, most of my friends and community are like interested in acoustic music and
Mm-hmm.
folk, and that's sort of all my connections are in that world.
Sure.
So it was really a leap of faith, so to speak, or just not caring, letting go of whether it was
A
like
DGAF
the biggest
moment.
thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I just had to make it for myself at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then it's almost exactly a year ago. That album got released on May 12th of 23. You know, so basically exactly a year later, and now you're already coming out with another kind of round of music, an EP later this year, but a single coming out this week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess you got the flavor for it, and now it's coming regularly.
Yeah, so the EP I actually recorded at the same time as Black Cloud. I had an extra few hours in the studio
Oh, interesting.
at the end of my vocal session at Blackbird Studios here in Nashville. And it's quite expensive to record there.
Sure.
So if you have
And-
extra time, you're going to use it.
Yeah, if you have extra time, you have to use it.
Yeah.
And I had just written a couple of the songs, and I had a couple more I'd been working up, and I just decided to make some, what I thought at the time were just demos. And then I really liked the performance of them and the feeling of them. So I started adding layers, and it turned into something more.
That's so cool.
Yeah, as you either record extra songs or lots of shaker overdubs with your extra time. Like, we're just going to go all in there.
Right.
I might use this someday.
Could be useful. You never know.
And I'm sure there's even the like, welp, I've got these songs I just wrote recently. Let's try it. And then some magic happens. I think must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So let's spend a little bit of time going into your story, and then we'll have you play some of that music that's about to come out. You had mentioned that you used to play the fiddle, but you picked it up at the age of 4. Like, it was like a super, I could just picture this 4-year-old, you know, just with a fiddle in its hand, just walking around the farm. It must be super cool. But like, you picked up music at a very early age.
Yeah, I have an older brother,
Mhm.
and he was learning piano. And apparently I was just sort of jealous and didn't have my own
Sibling
thing.
rivalry stuff.
So my mom decided that I needed my own instrument too.
Mhm.
And so she took me to get Suzuki violin lessons. So
Mhm.
it's a method of learning that you
Sure.
can start quite young.
hmm
And yeah, I have memories just at my lessons crying under the piano because I was so frustrated. And they just couldn't get me out from under the piano. But at some point I must have come out because now I can play the violin.
Yeah. Along with, like we said before, piano, mandolin, cello, guitar, and probably other things by now. But like, that multi-instrumentalist type thing, and I'm sure that helps too from a songwriting standpoint because you can pull from all of those different areas of expertise, and treat it like, oh, it needs a little more of this or a little more of that.
Yeah, I would say it more than a songwriter perspective. It helps more as a producer.
Oh, neat.
Sometimes as a songwriter, it can be tricky because you might get stuck with certain chord structures.
Sure.
You might get used to doing, certain forms.
I could see that.
But yeah, definitely as a producer, knowing what's possible is helpful. But of course, I don't, play all those instruments at the same level. So
Well, no, but still, like having that the ability to play them is still quite an achievement. Other element we wanted to touch on is something that again we always want to give a platform for is these more difficult or vulnerable topics or darker times, and it seems to correlate with where you started writing your music. At the age of 12, you lose your father, and how I guess you move through that and dealing with the grief is through the songwriting.
yeah, songwriting has definitely been therapeutic for me. My dad loved music. He was also a musician. He had a punk band. And I remember just hearing him playing guitar. Like he had a classical guitar he would noodle on by the fire. And yeah, playing music is definitely a way that I can feel more connected to him
Sure.
after losing him. And when somebody's gone and they feel so far away, sometimes music is feels like some sort of, I don't know, connection, like a telephone line that you can pick up and
Certainly.
feel the presence. So yeah, I'm so grateful that I had that as an outlet after losing him. And I think making the music, I always think about what he would like to hear,
Sure.
and it can be inspiration as well.
Certainly. Yeah. And even the title of that first album, Black Cloud, is somewhat of a dream you had of kind of facing some of these either fears or darker thoughts or whatever, and kind of owning them or harnessing them.
Yeah. It was, there's a lot of feelings that we don't have words for that are
Sure.
just feel intense.
Sure.
And I think that song in particular was trying to sort out those really intense feelings of grief, of sadness, of confusion, and just, I think a big part of it is realizing that everyone feels those things. And
Yes.
Oh yeah.
it's like something that's kind of where we can connect with others.
Totally. Yeah, we our episode last week was highlights from this show that we did back in February called Listen to the Dissonance, and we brought 4 musicians on who shared stories of mental health and played songs that had to do with that. And it was a live in-person event, so it wasn't anything we did as a live stream. So, we just released some of the highlights. It's not the full experience because there was some very vulnerable moments that need to stay, in the sanctity of that room. But there were other parts that we worked with each of the artists to make sure they were good with the edit. And so it's something that is just simply seems to be, to your point about how powerful music can be about helping somebody unlock maybe something they're working through, or just feeling less alone, or whatever. Like, so knowing that there's a song out there like Black Cloud that somebody can gravitate to and maybe work through something a little bit more to get to the next day is just something that we think is a very powerful thing, and applaud people like yourself to put yourself out there in that way.
Oh, well, thanks. And I definitely have my versions of those songs that I go back to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly right. So thank you for sharing that. So pivoting to the new music, so the one single, Light of the Moon, is coming out this Thursday, May the 16th. Yes. And you said you might be able to play it for us today.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. And if you want, so what we'll do is come off screen, give you kind of center stage. If you want to intro the song, give it a backstory or what have you. And then, if you wanted to play a second one, you can kind of just have that, right there to kind of go back to back.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right. Here's the Light of the Moon. Give me something to look at. I will look forever. Give me something nice to look at, nice to look at, nice to look at. Give me somewhere I can dream. I will dream forever. Give me somewhere I can dream. I can dream. I can dream. In the full light of the moon. I hope I don't make it too soon. I know that I'll always be alone. But you feel like my home. You feel like my home. Give me something I can hold. I'll hold it forever. Give me something I can hold. I can hold. I can hold. Give me something I can love. I'll love it forever. Give me something I can love. I can love. I can love. In the full light of the moon. I hope I don't make it too soon.
You feel like my
Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds amazing. So you want to play the other one?
Yeah.
So first, that's the one that's getting released this week.
That's
So that'll
right.
be the single, and then the other one is another track off the EP that'll get released in July.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's going to be the last track on the EP. Now I'm going to do the first track, so you get the bread of the sandwich.
There you go. The alpha and the omega.
Remember that wooded meadow where we stood one time, and you held me where the rain falls through the evergreen, and the leaves melt into the ground. Oh, darling, surely you already know. As long as my heart beats, I love you so. Sweet, it's true. Remember that empty parking lot where we stared up at the sky, couldn't stop crying. It's so hard to say goodbye to you, and I don't want to do it again. Oh, darling, surely you already know. As long as my heart beats, I love you so. Sweet, true. What would I do without you, my friend? What would I do without my love? All I know of love is you, my friend. And all I know of you is love. Remember flying over the sea for hours and hours, half asleep. I leaned on you, you leaned on me, and that's how I wanna go. If it's up to me, oh, darling, surely you already know. As long as my heart beats, I love you so. Sweet, true. What would I do without you, my friend? What would I do without my love? All I know of love is you, my friend. And all I know of you
Beautiful.
That was lovely.
Yeah. Let's get this set back up again. So, so that is the EP Agua Verde, set to release July 19th, later this year. But the first song you played, Light of the Moon, is going to release this week. So people can check that out, or they can just listen to this show and get the early vibe. Any other singles going to release between now and July, or just that one?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do 4.
Oh, nice.
So you'll get one at a time, slowly.
Nice. And then I had heard too. So, like you mentioned slightly before, you did some of that mixing on the first album, but you took more of the reins on that for this one.
Yeah, I didn't mix the first one. The first one was mixed by Sam Petz Davies, who's an incredible engineer in the UK. But I decided I have to learn how to do that. I was quite inspired by him. But yeah, I did the mixing for the EP, and it was a big challenge, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so obviously we haven't heard it yet, but like you were mixing in also like far away ambient sounds and stuff. So it seems like it's going to be something to really have the headphones on for.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is super cool.
All those shaker overdubs I was talking about.
There you go. And one other miscellaneous question, I just thought this was cool, and it was be a fun question to ask to hear your thoughts on, was hearing you say that you're at your most creative in nature and in solitude. And then just kind of wanted to ask you more about that because I guess probably growing up on a farm probably led you to some of that. But even with that too, is like, did you go, I read somewhere you even went back to your childhood bedroom to write some of these songs as well, I guess maybe connecting to some of that.
Yeah, I think it's just when it all pours out, when you're around people, you're sort of storing memories and ideas, words. And then, yeah, when I'm by myself, especially in nature, just reflecting, and yeah, that's when it's like a conversation with myself will happen, and things will pour out sometimes that I don't even know I'm processing.
Right. Yeah. Is it lyrics first or music first, or is it different every time?
I often do it at the same time,
Okay.
but it's always a little different.
Yeah.
But my favorite songs are the ones that just sort of play themselves. It feels like it's just comes out, all at once.
As a piece of art is coming out of you all at the same time. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
when it feels like a little mysterious, like where it comes from.
Yeah. Totally. And the black and white vibe, like obviously pretty much every video that's out and the cover. In fact, here we'll use this as a moment to bring up your website. Where does that stem from?
So the black and white, I love old movies and
Sure.
photography. I think a big part of it was giving myself a constraint, because I get so inspired to do different things. I'm very visual. I do a lot
David
of my
would
own.
wish I had that restraint sometimes, but
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, because you can get quite obsessive and
Sure.
then not know when to stop. But yeah, I do a lot of my own photography and videography as sort of part of expressing the songs, and I think visually I have to give myself at times a box to work within so that I don't go too crazy. And
Sure.
black and white, I always I like how that looks, and it gives me sort of a challenge to work within that constraint.
Totally. Yeah.
For
And
now.
I'm bouncing around your website here, so anything you want to promote, but obviously there's these upcoming shows, like
Yeah.
clearly it's right after the release of the EP. You're going to have a little bit of a tour here, mostly up Northwest. And then Paper Wings, all on the same, page, which is great because people can check out where you're going to be for both of the sounds.
Yeah. Paper Wings. We put out an album a couple months ago now, and our third album. So we're out and about in Southeast, and then I'll be on the West Coast this summer doing some shows with my friends in Verboten, who are a great indie band.
Very cool.
There.
So neat. Anything else we can help promote here? Sling some merch, anything like that?
I need to make some new merch. All I have right now are CDs.
The CDs, yeah.
But you can order them on there if you really want to. If you still have a car with a CD player.
Yeah. Well, David always says he can't listen to a T-shirt, so he prefers buying music.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas I'm a T-shirt guy. I'll because I want to like rep it on the show and do the promotions that way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that'll be my next merch item.
I unfortunately I usually hold up like a handful of CDs at this point in time to emphasize my point, but I cleaned my desk about a week ago, so they're not here right now.
But you've never been more organized in your life.
There is something nice about the tangible CD or record. And
Yes.
There.
What was funny is I had gone down the path of purchasing the vinyl from every artist who had it that we brought on the show. And then I had a decently sizable collection, but no record player. So like my family ended up buying me a record player. But for a while there, I had no way to play all this tangible media that I had in my possession. But I just liked, like you had said, to be able to hold it and have like the the rather nice sized, art, because a lot of times there's a lot of thought process that goes into the cover art. So I just liked having that. Whether I could listen to it or not was secondary, but now I have that ability. But for a while there, it was just for a shelf.
Well, it is like a poster size almost.
It is. It's very, very cool. But yeah, so we will be on the lookout for more merch, more singles, and upcoming shows. Hopefully you come out east and we can catch a live show out this way.
Yeah. Where are you all based?
We're based just north of Philadelphia in the Lehigh Valley, Bethlehem to be exact, but often seeing shows New York, Philly, all through kind of like this area. And then David always laughs because I travel a decent bit and will the app Bands in Town, when I land in any city, I'll pull that open and say, hey, let's see who's around. So there's been times that I've seen people we've had on the show in, Portland, Oregon. And, I'll walk in and be like, David, I'm checking out this show. And he's like, what's wrong with you?
And even the band is like, what are you doing here?
Right. This is not where I expected to see you, but it's fun. It's super cool, and it's a better thing to do than just sit in a hotel room. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, great, Willa. Thank you so much for coming on the show for playing 2 songs. What a treat that was, and we're a little bit ahead of the releases. How honored we are for the national premieres, I suppose.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, and good luck all summer with the touring and with the release of the new music. We will do what we can to amplify that as well on our end.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
David. Philip.
Wila Frank.
What a lovely performance. We were very lucky to have 2 songs from the new EP performed, and that was great. Yeah,
and it is a different sound from that first album, but I mean, just such chops on playing that guitar. I love watching. That's what I love about the video. Like, I know we do the podcast and some people consume it that way, but what I love about, like, if I was a consumer of this show, I would go to the video version so that I could watch these musicians play, because it's always so magical and fascinating to just see how talented they are.
You just like to watch the fingers dance across the fretboard.
That's exactly right.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank Wila Frank for joining us today, for diving into her release from last year and sharing all the stories about how she came to be inspired to write music and play this very difficult styles in a whole new way, and playing 2 songs. Thank you so much for that, and be on the lookout for the the new release on all the streaming channels. But as we always try and point out, make sure that you support by going to shows and buying merch straight from the artist, because the streaming and digital platforms are not a way that generates revenue, but it does put the music in your ear holes so that you can be inspired to go do more to support their efforts if you like what you hear. As always, our hope is to bring you your next favorite band. If you tuned in tonight because you already knew Wila Frank, thank you so much. And we hope you liked what you heard and what you saw, so that you might like and subscribe and follow us for the ability to bring you your next favorite band in a future week. Or perhaps your next favorite band is already out there, because all of our episodes are available at nextfaveband.com. And all available on demand, both the audio and the video versions, and so it might already be there for you to find. Here we are now in festival season, and we've got some great stuff coming up. We've got episodes with Gangsta Grass and the American Hotel System, and then a preview episode for what's coming on this fall. I'm sorry, this festival season this summer. Don't rush it, Phil. We're just here. Hope to see you at a live show soon, and stay tuned for one more track. We're going to play the song Fire by Wila Frank. And please enjoy one more track, Fire by Wila Frank.
There's a fire in my head, it's gonna burn until I find you. There's a fire in my head, it's gonna burn until I have you. What's gonna happen to me? Oh, if I don't get to hold you. What's gonna happen to me? Oh, if I don't get to hold you. It's gonna burn.